It's that time again. It's Baggy Hi-Fi time. Greetings cats and kittens, and welcome to another episode of Baggy Hi-Fi, this channel devoted to record collecting. This time something a little bit different. I'm going to respond to a competition entry, and this is in honour of Chris Propfe. His channel called Musically Obsessed, definitely recommended. Very engaging character, very knowledgeable, makes loads of videos, very prolific. So congratulations, Chris, on your 200 subscriptions. I think you're up to about 250 now, so I'm sure that will grow and deserves to grow. So there are 5 questions, and I thought the questions were quite intriguing, and a few other people have responded on the vinyl community to Chris's competition, so I thought I'd have a go tonight. I'm going to make it quite short and snappy, but hopefully interesting. So the first question in Chris Propfe's competition is, what is your first musical memory? Well, my dad was quite musical and played the guitar, and one of my early memories is of him coming home from work and practicing guitar playing on his semi-solid Hofner guitar, which he used to play in the bedroom to unwind after work. So I do remember him playing sort of skiffle tunes and sort of light jazz tunes and whistling along and singing along. I think the first record I ever had was a red vinyl nursery rhymes record, which was in sort of swing style, sort of jazzed up. I do remember Georgie Porgy, Puddin' and Pie, but that record has long disappeared into the ether. I have 2 older sisters. My older sister is 10 years older than me, so they were buying records or receiving records for birthday presents, etc. When I was very young, so I was exposed to a lot of music early on, and I'm very grateful for that. So my eldest sister, I remember loving, not necessarily the Beatles. I think she did like the Beatles, but she liked the Shadows. Now this record came out much later, this best of, and this is all I have by the Shadows, but it has all their hits, 10 tracks on each side. Hank Marvin and Co. instrumental, probably the equivalent of American bands like the Ventures, instrumental twangy guitar bands. So I have a real affection for the Shadows. Very good English group. So that's definitely one of my early memories of music, is hearing the Shadows being played in the front living room where we lived by my sister. Now the second question is, what song or artist would you perform at karaoke? Now I've watched a few other people's response to this question, and a few other people have said that they've never sang at karaoke. Well, I've been to karaoke, but I've never really sung enough. I've never sung at karaoke. Maybe I just hadn't had enough to drink. But I think if I did sing at karaoke, and you know, it may happen in the future, I would probably want to sing or pick a song by the Monkees, one of my favourite 60s bands. So could have been anything off this first album. Last Train to Clarksville, that's a classic. Take a Giant Step, very nice psyche moment on this first Monkees LP. Could be something off more of the Monkees. Maybe something like I'm a Believer. Sure, that's a karaoke favourite. Could be something off Headquarters. Mr. Webster, bit of an obscure one there. You Just May Be the One, another favourite. Or something off here. Anyway, I think if I did go to karaoke next time, I would sing something by the Monkees. Now the third question, a difficult one to answer. What are your 3 desert island albums? So I had to think about this, and I think if I was stranded on a desert island, I would be feeling quite nostalgic for England, and associations of memories of when I bought certain records, and I think all these 3 qualify as my desert island albums for those reasons. So the first one is Wilder by the Teardrop Explodes, Julian Cope and Co. This is their second album. real favourite of mine. I remember buying this in Liverpool HMV in the 80s when it came out. Probably the best Teardrop Explodes album. I saw Julian Cope live a few weeks ago at Newcastle Riverside, and he's still amazing. Great performer. Did about 2 hours just with his 12-string guitar and a little bit of keyboard. English legend, English psych legend, the Archdruid himself. And here he was in his early form, his early very pop psych form. When Julian was playing the other week, he did play Passionate Friend, which is on this album, and he said here's one of those early bar 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 songs. So definitely favourite. It would be a Desert Island disc for me. Wilder by the Teardrop Explodes. Now the next in my 3 Desert Island albums is this one. Again, I remember when I bought this, I used to play it again and again and again and again, and it really stands up to repeated listening. Joni Mitchell's Hejira, album about travelling, being on the road. Very atmospheric album, wonderful album. Every track is great, and of course the band are great. Jaco Pastorius playing on this, real haunting music. I like most of Joni's albums around about this time, The Hissing of Summer Lawns, but this one I think would be the Desert Island disc, Hejira by Joni Mitchell. And for my 3rd and final Desert Island album, I was thinking I've got to have something by Bowie. I sort of grew up with David Bowie's records. I think it's going to have to be this one, Low. Probably a favourite of many of David's albums, Dame David's albums. I remember hearing this played for the first time by John Peel when it came out. I think he played both sides on his late night radio show, and again has a lot of nostalgia for me. Part of his Berlin trilogy. This copy is not the original one I have. I bought it again later on, but it does have the insert. And does this one have fan club? Actually, it has 2 inserts. Don't know how that happened, but Low, Bowie's big change of direction. It could have been Station to Station, but this one won out. Low. The 4th question is, what album artwork could you stare at for hours? Well, you might expect it to be one of those prog albums of the 70s with the airbrushed designs by Roger Dean or someone else. Not really in my favourites in artwork, but maybe in music. But it's this one that I chose. Artwork I could stare at for hours. This is Fripp and Eno's No Pussyfooting, their first collaboration. And it's not just the Hall of Mirrors effect that I find really fascinating, but just the little details of what's on the table, what books are on the shelf. There's an empty scene on the back. Each photo is different. It's interesting to look at Robert Fripp's handbag or man bag, his platform shoes, the playing cards on the table, which look like nudie playing cards, Pall Mall cigarettes. What books are these? This sort of Art Nouveau Deco vase. Brian Eno's makeup, which he was still wearing at the time. He was still quite glam. Lots and lots of details. The tubular furniture. It's so 70s, so 72, so 73. This is one, when I first bought this, I stared at for hours. Actually, this is a reissue, 200 gram vinyl reissue. Great album, by the way, apart from the cover. And finally, the final question, what is the best closing track of an album? Well, this is a record which was not my first exposure to the Velvet Underground, but I remember a friend at school telling me that he had White Light, White Heat, and how strange it was, how bizarre it was. And the closing track on White Light, White Heat is, of course, Sister Ray. 17 minutes of the Velvet Underground, bashing it out, going into the red, into the volume. Fantastic improvisation, probably one of my favourite Velvet Underground tracks, Sister Ray, White Light, White Heat, everything going into Overload. Wonderful. So that's the my contest entry for Chris Propfe's contest. Again, congratulations to Chris on his all his subscribers. Thank you for subscribers to my channel, Baggy Hi-Fi. Again, it would be great if I had a few more subscribers, so please do think about subscribing. I would be very grateful. But thanks for watching anyway, and I'll see you next time. Thanks now. Bye-bye.